the Steakhouse actually, that space started out as a high-end fine dining venue for our members when we originally built the clubhouse. And what we learned was that our members really liked a little bit more casual. They very much gravitated towards the tack room, and that fine dining space was not as embraced as we had thought.
Well, sure, yeah.
So when we brought on the original 48 guest rooms, we remodeled that space to become a steakhouse. We expanded it, enclosed all the patios, and set out to make a premier steakhouse for Colorado Springs. And now, I guess we've been at that for close to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And, we've won a bunch of awards.
The very latest on economic development, workforce, and industry sector news in Southern Colorado. Here is Business Digest Weekly with our host, Dirk Hobbs.
All right, good Friday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Business Digest here in Southern Colorado. I'm your host, Dirk Hobbs. Glad you're with us. Another beautiful Friday here in Southern Colorado. I am ready for a cold toddy. Are you? I am. Tell your boss it's 3 o'clock. You listen to the Business Digest. You're well informed. I'm going home. That's all there is to it, ladies and gentlemen. Just take it and run. Got a great show for you this afternoon, but before we jump in, I want to update you on a few things from around the region. So, Ent Federal Credit Union, they used to be recognized as that, but Ent Credit Union is now merging with Wings out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Ent right now is a $9.9 billion bank, assets under management, with Wings Credit Union being $9.7 billion. Between the two of them, they have close to 1 million members, and this is going to be a huge process. So right now they're under regulatory review, and once approved, they will form under they'll form under Wings Credit Union, with the CEO of Ent Credit Union taking control. So Mr. Graves, Chad Graves, is the executive president and CEO for Ent. He will take over the Wings Credit Union charter when the names merge and blend. Also in Pueblo, the city council and a number of other regulatory bodies in that county have come together to streamline development process for permitting. Not unlike what happened here in Colorado Springs, where we now have a city navigator to help new businesses get through the permitting process. We have the ability now in Pueblo to do the same. So they're going to expedite those processes, shepherd individual businesses and owners through the process. You'll have individual people to speak with along the way. So whether you're doing road extensions, greenfield or infield, you'll have the opportunity to have, hopefully, a very refined process. That is underway, and they're looking towards late 2024 and early 2025 for renewal. The Madera Cyber Innovation Center opened on the United States Air Force Academy a couple weeks ago, and what a fantastic site. This is a gigantic site right behind to the east of the cadet residential areas there. And it is absolutely beautiful, state-of-the-art facility. There is a skiff inside of it. So lots of great work opening up there. And the cadets will now be entering into that for their classes, as well as other organizations throughout the region. Of course, we have 5 active DoD installations here in Southern Colorado in El Paso County, and there will be some intermingling going on there as well. So lots of news. If you want to check out SoCo Digest, do so. You can go to SoCoDigest.com. We have actually, if you haven't heard, we recently purchased the Colorado Springs Business Journal, and we are now folding that inside of our own folio. So now you're going to get extensive coverage on economic development, finance, business, economics in general, development, and other things that are happening in Southeast Colorado. Of course, we'll keep an eye on those economic sectors that drive and fuel our economy, whether it's advanced manufacturing, aerospace and defense, and of course, cybersecurity. And if you're south of here, you're looking at manufacturing, agriculture, and energy. as well as some cyber and technology going on throughout Southeast Colorado. So glad you're with us. It's the end of Small Business Week from the EDC and BBB and the Small Business Development Center. They had a great week last week for Small Business Week. So a lot of success there. Congratulations to all my friends at those organizations. You guys did a great job. And championing small business, the economic backbone of any community, is definitely something we all want to do. Well, let's get to work here. I've got two special guests across the board from me today. I've got Wendy McHenry, who's the general manager at the club at Flying Horse. If you're a member, that's what you refer to it as, or it's Flying Horse Club and Resort. Did I get it right?
Resort and Club.
Resort and Club. I got it backwards. Okay. And Jake Odell, who's the director of golf. Welcome to you both.
Thank
Excited
you.
to be here.
Yeah, glad you're both here. Well, as you may have heard, if you've listened to this program, we like to introduce our guests to the audience so they can get to know a little bit who they're listening to. So, Jake, we'll start with you. Are you native Colorado?
I am. Yes, sir.
All right, give us a little background on you.
Yeah, so grew up in Estes Park, Colorado. 3 generations up there. I was the first one to actually leave that little town. Moved here for college, went to UCCS. Was one of the first kids at PGM school at UCCS, and bounced around, worked at the Broadmoor a little bit, worked up in Denver, and then kind of by chance just knew Flying Horse was coming up into development right when I graduated, and rest is history.
Yeah. Did you play golf in high school, college?
Oh, I played, yeah. I played. Definitely not good enough to see me on TV, so went on the other sector. But my whole family's
Very
been
few
in
of
the
those
golf
guys
business.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad was a superintendent, and so I was always on the golf course.
One of my favorite places in the world is the YMCA of the Rockies up there.
Yep.
I love that place.
Yep.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, welcome. We're going to get to how things looking out there on your golf courses because you've got 2 now.
Yes, sir.
You've got Flying Horse Maine. Is that what they call it, Maine?
We're calling it Maine and North.
In North.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And Wendy McHenry, general manager, you've been there for a minute.
I have been there for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have you.
Yeah, I grew up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and just kind of accidentally landed in Colorado Springs and have been here, close to 40 years.
Is that right?
Yeah. I must be older than I think I am.
Is it home now?
Yeah,
Yet?
absolutely home. I've been in the resort and club business my entire adult life, and I've been at Flying Horse for now 21 years,
Yes.
since we began.
So the Flying Horse, it's a classic development, and it is absolutely spectacular up there. If you live on the north side of El Paso County, near I-83, Interquest, and Northgate, you no doubt know about this particular property, and it's absolutely stunning. We'll get into the background of it, but this year is your 20th anniversary.
It is.
Of the club's opening. So congratulations. That's a big milestone for a project like this. So what are some of the things we can expect to happen this summer as we celebrate?
Well, we we're doing a lot of marketing associated with the 20-year anniversary. I think that for us, a lot of times people don't realize that we've been around as long as we have. So we're taking the opportunity to really promote that. We have some special events associated with the 20th anniversary that we'll be doing with our members. We have a golf tournament that's coming up in a couple of weeks that we've been working real hard on, and it's going to be a real special day.
Indeed.
For everybody.
Yes.
Yep.
So is there a specific date that it launched that you're going to have an event on, or will it just kind of be throughout the summer?
Well, we're going to celebrate throughout the summer. The specific date of the opening of the golf course is August 19th, 2005.
And is that when the tournament's going to be, or close to that?
No, the tournament will be in May.
In May.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's coming up.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, let's talk about the inspiration for the creation of Flying Horse. Give us a little background on the resort. I know Jeff Smith's the founder and CEO of Classic, and this was kind of his vision.
Yes. So I hesitate to speak for our owners, but I will. I think, so 3 partners, George Lenz, Jeff Smith, and Doug Stimple. And I think that they had a vision for what was going to happen on the north side of town on this property. The property was owned by Thomas Blake, and Jeff, started to have conversations with him. He was an avid golfer, Texas oil guy. And the one thing that he said was, I want there to be a golf course, high-end country club as part of that project. And so I think, again, speaking for our owner's vision, but they really saw Flying Horse to be that premier community on the north side of town that didn't exist. And I can remember, 21 years ago, there was some skepticism around whether Colorado Springs would embrace,
a new
what
club.
that vision was. That, high-end luxury project didn't really exist in Colorado Springs at that point.
Right. Certainly not north of the Broadmoor. And, it's interesting because I remember when they started clearing things out there a long time ago, I thought, man, this is really far away from everything. I think the closest thing was Shops at Briargate.
It was.
I mean, there were some buildings along what is now well known as Voyager. You had all those buildings. A lot of those buildings have been there forever. And of course, New Life was there. But any of the infrastructure that you see today,
none of it was there.
Not there.
We felt like we were out in the middle of nowhere.
I bet. So, and you've been there almost since the onset or before?
Well, I started in April of 2004.
Wow.
So before there was
pretty much the onset.
Yeah.
And how about you?
I missed probably 6 months after opening. So I was there March of 2006.
Okay. Yeah. And what'd you come in as?
Just a cart boy, basically.
No kidding.
Yeah, I was at the time I was looking at an internship at Bannon Dunes. Didn't know if I wanted to leave Colorado yet. I had known at the time our golf professional, Glenn Wallace, who's now our assistant general manager.
That's right.
We met on his double wide out on 83, had an interview, and no reason to leave since. Through that whole summer, that first summer, got promoted to first assistant by the end of the year, before there was any facilities or anything, and fantastic. Been a great journey.
I bet you guys have a lot of great memories, and we're going to get into that.
Yeah, we do.
Some great memories, and then some memories like, I hope this thing goes. Because anytime you launch a huge property like this, ladies and gentlemen, it is a risk. And these guys certainly knew what that risk was. And here we are 20 years later. And it's paying big dividends, not only for them, but certainly the community. It's one of the premier destinations in El Paso County, if not all of Southeast Colorado. So stick around. We're going to get to know a little bit more about the club, its economic impact on the region, and some of the unique features that are out there, because it is a spectacular club. And for full disclosure, I am a member out there. My family and I have been out there since, I think, 2008, I think. And it has been quite enjoyable. So anyway, stick with us. We're back in a moment with the folks at the Flying Horse Club and Resort and Club.
Either one works.
Either one works. All right, stick with us. We're back in a moment.
My experience with Colorado Springs Orthopedic Group has been top-notch. The whole orthopedic group, they've worked very well together. Even when I've gone through PT or needed to get my collar prosthetic, everybody's been just right on top of it. It's all centralized and the communications have been awesome. Even though I had my nervousness about going into surgery, I was still very confident. I knew I was going to be okay. Colorado Springs Orthopedic Group is definitely getting me back to my life and the things that I want to do.
All right, we're back here, second quarter, Business Digest Weekly on a Friday afternoon here in Southern Colorado. Glad you're with us. We're hanging out with the general manager and director of golf at the club at Flying Horse and Flying Horse Resort and Club if you're a guest. So I'm fine. I've been a member there forever. You'd think I'd know this, but I've always known it as the club at Flying Horse. So there you have it. Either way, you'll get there. If you go online, it's the flyinghorseresort.com. So check it out. And of course, memberships are always open, right?
As long as we have availability, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that voice is Wendy McHenry. She is the general manager of the club. And, of course, we have director of golf, Jake Odell. Glad you guys are here.
Thank you for having us.
And you're going to golf later today.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, we got to get you out of here, man. All right. Well, Wendy, let's back up and orient the folks to kind of the vision, the original vision for the whole property. Because I know you had a community involved, a golf course, and, of course, the club itself. So
yes. So the original vision for Flying Horse was a high-end luxury community on the north side of Colorado Springs. A number of different home products, from custom to more production homes. Again, very high-end. The golf course community, when we were developing that property, that was a real big thing that was happening in the industry. And, specifically a club that was built with the entire family in mind. Not your grandfather's old school golf club.
Right.
So that was a very big deal at that time. In addition, Classic had the vision of this, master planned community that also included a K through 12 campus, which is Discovery Canyon.
Got it.
And they donated a significant piece of property for them to be able to do that particular school. So when we first started, the first thing we did was build the original Weiskopf golf course. And then right behind that came the athletic club, pools, tennis. That brought on all of the facilities that, appealed to the entire family. And then behind that, we developed the clubhouse. And then fast forward a few more years, we added in the original lodging component, which was 48 rooms behind, and then came Flying Horse North Golf Course. I'm going to let Jake talk a little bit about the golf courses because those are, along with everything else, very, very special. Yeah. And then we added a steakhouse and then additional lodging in the East Lodge a couple of years ago.
Very good. All right. So that's kind of a map of the property. When did Weiskopf get involved? And did you actually meet him? Yeah,
I never got to meet him.
You never got to meet him? Okay.
My former head pro, Glenn Wallace, like I mentioned before, he played the opening round with Weiskopf.
No kidding.
For those that don't know, Tom Weiskopf, British Open champion, battled with Jack Nicklaus all throughout the 70s and 80s. Really spectacular guy, and his vision for Flying Horse Maine was perfect. It's a very player-friendly golf course. Everything's kind of out in front of you. It's not tricked up. Something that, just really matched the landscape, because at Flying Horse, it's, it was used to be just a ranch property. And so he really dove into that and made it really spectacular.
Okay.
So members absolutely love playing that on a daily basis, and it's all skill levels.
Yeah. How would you describe the course? I mean, it's East Coast course is narrow, a lot of trees.
Yep.
This is pretty open now.
Definitely a Weiskopf design, wide open fairways with bunkers protecting greens.
Okay.
Greens are shaped, diagonally so that nothing's really straight on to you. Always have the signature hole where there's no bunkers, but then every other hole has bunkers on it.
Right.
He loved the link style. Being a British Open champion, he really took that as his architect.
Okay.
So you see a lot of that down at that course for sure.
How many courses are you aware of that he was behind throughout the United States?
Hard to count. He's one of probably the top 5
Is
architects,
that right?
Definitely in the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he and Glenn played the opening round out there?
Yes, sir.
How'd that go? Do you have any recollection?
I love speaking for Glenn on this. Glenn
doesn't love
near
it so
topped
much.
his first shot, but then he dialed it in. He's a really good player, but they had a lot of fun.
No, that's beautiful. One of my favorite holes up there is the one that's elevated.
Yeah, number 12.
Number 12, yeah. I don't have the holes memorized. I haven't played out there a lot, but when I do, I love that hole because you can see creation from there.
We always love that. This time of year with the Air Force graduation about to come over.
Yeah.
We have the best flyover of anybody.
I bet you do.
Yeah, you can see helmets.
So time of year that it's the optimal to play out there, in your estimation?
We're getting there. I would say any time past May 15th, all the way through October.
Okay.
You know, we keep getting those great falls, and I love playing any course in Colorado in September, October.
Yeah, it's
you get all
pretty.
the colors and
Yep.
everything. So yeah, it's spectacular.
Beautiful track. We have held our golf tournament out there. We host the Ambassadors for Hope golf tournament out there with the Exodus Road, and we've had 2 great seasons out there, and we look forward to coming back. I think we're going to try North next time.
You should.
Yes.
Yep.
If it's available to us for under $1 billion, right? So, all right. So the golf course goes in first, right? That's the first thing. Of course, you have a sales trailer with all the projected stuff that's going to go in there.
Yes.
How long did it take? Do you recall? From first movement, first cut into the soil up until when Glenn topped his first shot.
Well, we would have started construction on the golf course in April of 2004, and we opened in August of 2005.
Wow. Okay.
So it was pretty fast growing.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Okay. And was the course, do you recall, man, was it in just great shape, or what did it play like a new course?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, fairways were pristine. Nobody had touched it yet, but greens were a little soft. We still joke. I mean, there was still power lines from 83 going across number 4 at the time.
That's funny.
We were still in development stage for sure, but
no structure. So when's the clubhouse come online in the athletic club?
Well, the athletic club, they would have started construction probably around the time that the golf course was being grown in.
Okay.
The athletic club opened in very late 2006.
Mm-hmm. And you guys were selling this on boards.
We were.
Yeah, because you didn't really have anything to show.
Well, yeah, and I remember it was myself. We had a membership coordinator, and then our managing director, Fredo, were really the team. Plus, Glenn was starting the golf side of things, and then obviously our golf maintenance team was responsible for growing in the course. But we were painting a picture of a fantasy at that time.
Yeah.
We had mood boards for what the interior design was going to look like, artist renderings of the buildings. And we were really asking people to trust us with
just
a lot of their money.
Close your eyes.
Exactly.
And imagine this. Yes.
Correct.
And it came true. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous out there. So how would you describe kind of the overall theme and architecture out there?
We call it Rocky Mountain Tuscan.
Cool.
And it blends into, we're not really an alpine setting. So, that alpine mountain look doesn't really go well.
Right.
If you think about Tuscany and the rolling hills and then our Rocky Mountains, I personally think that the architecture was perfect.
Yeah. And that clubhouse, of course, is beautiful. So the athletic club comes online first, and that's where folks start to be able to engage with the club.
Exactly.
Physically, right?
Beyond the golf course.
Beyond the golf course. Okay. Well, there probably wasn't a golf shed, right? I mean,
no, the golf shop that we had is now the yoga studio downstairs.
Is that right?
Yeah, so we
occupied that first, and then golf carts were just parked outside.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
So, Wendy, when you remember looking at those first boards and then you kind of lift your head up and look at the actual club today, pretty close?
Better,
Yeah.
I think.
Wow.
You had a picture in your mind of what it was going to look like. But once it was built, it was kind of like more than what you imagined it was going to be.
So what were some of the early days in terms of selling that? Like you said, close your eyes and here's the vision, right? But I mean, did it take a little while for folks to start to adapt the idea of this coming online on the north side?
There was a lot of buy-in early, and I think a lot of that had to do with the reputation of our owners in the community.
Certainly,
So they were very well connected. And they had a reputation of doing what they said they were going to do. So I think that got us some real early traction from people that knew them, trusted them. And, that gave us kind of that beginning. And then it was really, it depends on the individual. Are you a visionary and can you see that? Or do you really need for it to be finished for you to embrace it?
Right.
And different people are, they're different with that. But we had a lot of really good engagement right out of the gate.
Exactly. So all the original filings are probably built out and done, right? we're moving on to some of the next generation filings.
Yeah.
So
you mean now?
Yeah, the ones that were originally spec'd for, say, the first 5 years, they're probably all developed outright by now.
Yeah, Flying Horse, the whole property is almost finished. I think we have about 50 lots left.
And now there's retail along that corridor.
There is.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
a new grocery store, gas stations.
Who doesn't love
None of
this?
those things existed.
No. And yeah, King Supers.
Yeah.
And now the amphitheater. Yeah, we have an entertainment district in our backyard. So
Exactly.
How has that been, just anecdotally, how's that been for the residents at Flying Horse? Pretty decent?
All the retail?
The amphitheater, all the growth up there.
Yeah, I think people are very excited about all of that.
Yeah,
You know, obviously there's been some other stuff going on
sure.
with that,
Yeah.
but I think generally speaking, the north side of
huge.
Colorado Springs is happening.
It is happening. And that project alone, $100 million annually. So we're looking at $1 billion over the next 10 years of economic impact just from that amphitheater alone. And of course, all the retail has been flushed out. We've got Bass Pro up there. We've got all the, a lot of professional services along that Northgate corridor. It's growing. It's growing like mad. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a look at what your experience would be like if you visit Flying Horse. Of course, you're welcome as a guest there at any time. You can stay on the property, reserve a room, and experience all the facilities at will. So it's also got a steakhouse. I want to come back to that because it's an award-winning steakhouse. And it's a great place to hang out. It's a great place to have a date night. And it's one of the best meals in town. So stick around. We're back in a moment. The Flying Horse Resort and Club. I got it right. Yes. All right, we're back here, second half, Business Digest Weekly. I'm your host, Dirk Hobbs. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at the U.S. Senior Open. That golf tournament is coming soon here to Colorado Springs. Going to have a tremendous economic impact. If you have not gotten your tickets yet, you can certainly do that. You get out there to the Broad. Just look up the Broadmoor or U.S. Senior Open on your Google, and you will land right into one of their many sites where you can get day passes or week passes for the U.S. Senior Open. Some great talent coming out here. This is the fourth time the U.S. Senior Open has appeared here in Colorado Springs, so it's going to be a fun week. I can't wait to get out there and see those guys do the magic that they do. Also, I want to thank our friends at Colorado Springs Orthopedic Group. They help underwrite the program here. And we get to meet very cool people like this. Jake Odell, Director of Golf at Flying Horse Resort and Club, and of course, Wendy McHenry, General Manager. Both of them have been there for quite a few years. So you know where the cracks and bumps and everything are in that clubhouse. Well, that's cool. Guys, thanks for coming.
Of course.
Really appreciate you being here, giving us a little history and background. And of course, your owners, Jeff Smith and Doug Stimple, and there was one other fellow in there.
George Lentz.
George Lentz. That's the one. I'd never met that gentleman, but I've met the other two at least once, I think. I know Stimple, but I don't know that I've actually shaken Jeff's hand. But he had quite a reputation. Of course, Classic Homes, they've done a lot of home building out here in southern Colorado. And, of course, a wonderful product. And now this came online back in 2004?
2004.
2004. Okay.
Yep.
It's been a hot minute, but you guys are celebrating your 20th anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's got to feel good. And I hope the vibe over there is feeling good and everybody's excited about what's going to be a very, very busy summer, no doubt, for you all.
No question. It's coming fast.
It's coming fast. Well, very good. So let's, we stopped with the athletic club and, of course, the golf courses and the beautiful main clubhouse itself, but you've got a steakhouse inside of there that is a meal to die for, I think. So
I would say so.
Explain that, how that came online and what people can do to get in there.
Yeah. So the steakhouse actually, that space started out as a high-end fine dining venue for our members when we originally built the clubhouse. And what we learned was that our members really liked a little bit more casual. They very much gravitated towards the tack room, and that fine dining space was not as as embraced as, we had thought.
Well, sure. Yeah.
So when we brought on the original 48 guest rooms, we remodeled that space to become a steakhouse. We expanded it, enclosed all the patios, and set out to, make a premier steakhouse for Colorado Springs. And now I guess we've been at that for close to 10 years. And we've won a bunch of awards, Wine Spectator, awards for our wine list. And I mean, obviously I'm very biased, but I think it's a wonderful experience.
Oh, it certainly is. And I am too. So, and that Spire wine cellar that you guys have, that's a pretty cool feature.
It's very unique.
Yes. So is that members can put their bottles in there, their collection?
So we have about 200 lockers that members can keep. And that actually has a wait list of people, wanting to get into lockers.
I'm not surprised, yeah.
And then in addition to that, the top 2 levels have all of the club's collection. So all in about 5,000 bottles in that
a
really
lot of vino.
Cool wine tower.
It's a lot of vino, and of course it's climate controlled and everything's perfect in there as well. So now let's move up to Flying Horse North. So this came online not long ago. How's that course looking right now?
Spectacular.
Yeah,
especially the way the two complement each other. But right off the bat, we're going on our 6th season. Is that correct? 2019.
Yeah. 6 years.
We are rated in the top 100 now in Golf Digest for that golf course.
Congratulations.
It's a spectacular design. Phil Smith, who was one of Weiskopf's lead designers for the original course, we kept a great relationship with him, and he helped see the final product of Flying Horse North. And it's amazing. There's 5 holes that are out in a prairie, but the rest of them are in the Black Forest area, right. Big trees. Potato chip greens is what we call them.
What does that mean?
It means that there's just a lot of undulations between them.
Got it.
And we're kind of getting a quick reputation to having some of the best greens on the Front Range up there.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's putting on glass, and memberships really gravitated up there. We started another tier of membership when we opened north with the signature members, and that's really taken off. And just a lot of public access as well. Through the resort and charity events that we hold up there. We're getting a lot of acknowledgement up there.
Yeah, I know you guys do a lot. Boyd Williams and company bring the YMCA.
Yeah. Big proponent of that.
They take up both courses, don't they anymore? Oh, yeah, I gotta love that guy. Well, very good. So when people come on campus and they go through that gate, what can they expect to experience there as a first-time guest? Can you reimagine that?
I can. And I think part of this comes from us starting in that country club space. Really that sense of belonging and, being recognized. And I think that when we added the lodging component, it just was a natural shift for us. And now if you come on property, we're 102 rooms. So you're really arriving at a place that is small and unique and more of a boutique experience. And I think that our resort guests kind of get enveloped into that. Hi, we know who you are. People that come and stay with us, frequently, we know them, and they just kind of get enveloped into the Flying Horse family.
Absolutely. Well, and it's an escape of sorts.
Yep.
Because you're out there in that wonderful Tuscan environment and you got a lot of blue sky above you. Now, if you're north, you don't actually, a lot of folks reside around the golf course, correct? There was once some discussion about a hotel maybe going up out there. Is that stopped, or where are we at on that?
I would say it's still part of a discussion, but there aren't any definitive
plans yet. Very good. But when you're out there, I mean, it feels a little bit like an East Coast course, right? Because you're kind of playing in the woods.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe more just on the West Coast or in the mountains of Colorado. I mean, big pines. Really, one of the great things about it is there's no undergrowth between them. So you have this visual of Pikes Peak throughout the entire golf course.
Okay.
Some of the best photos we have are on number 1 up there, number 4. because we're above 7,000 feet on the north course. And so we're ways up, but a lot of undulations. And yeah, there is a neighborhood that's gone in. We're through our first phase of homes that are on the course, going into phase 2. So a lot of those bigger properties next to the golf course are on up for sale right now.
No doubt about it.
Which are going very well. And then there's a lot of development that'll happen more east of Flying Horse North, close to Black Forest Road there.
Now, the 4th of July celebration, you guys are pretty famous for that.
Yep.
That's one of the great celebrations on the north end of town for sure. It certainly compares to the Memorial Park and everything going on down at Broadmoor as well. Doing it again this year?
Of course.
Of course.
Absolutely.
And public access, how's that going to work?
Well, so there isn't public access onto the club property. That is restricted to our members and hotel guests. But we actually are part of the big project that the Colorado Springs Sports Corp does and promotes kind of all of the
That's right.
displays across the city. So we encourage people to show up at the park, show up at the school. You can see the fireworks display all over the community.
Yeah, you sure can. It's beautiful up there. As I said, I've been a member up there since 2008 is when we joined. And the athletic club was up. The big main clubhouse was up. And, of course, the tennis courts were in and everything was go. And it's been a great experience for us as well. So
Good.
When you look back on the beginning, I want you guys to think about this as we go to break. Obviously, there were ups and there were downs. There was 2008, right? There was COVID.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of things. I would love to hear from your respective perspectives as leaders of your organization, how you manage to drive through those times, just as leaders and, of course, as a business, as a club, because that's our audience loves to hear how other folks navigated those times. You know, the difficult housing markets, and the upswings, the boom we had, and then COVID and things like that. So think about that while we go to break here. We're going to come back with Wendy McHenry. She is general manager at the Flying Horse Resort and Club, and of course, Jake Odell, director of golf, both golf courses, North and Flying Horse Maine. We're back in a moment.
My experience with Colorado Springs Orthopedic Group has been top-notch. The whole orthopedic group, they've worked very well together. Even when I've gone through PT or needed to get my collar prosthetic, everybody's been just right on top of it. It's all centralized and the communications have been awesome. Even though I had my nervousness about going into surgery, I was still very confident. I knew I was going to be okay. Colorado Springs Orthopedic Group is definitely getting me back to my life and the things that I want to do.
All right, we're back here, fourth quarter, Business Digest Weekly. I'm your host, Dirk Hobbs. Glad you're with us. Only an hour and 15 minutes away from your first cold toddy of the weekend, and I hope you have a smashing weekend. Here in Southern Colorado, we're hanging out with Wendy McHenry, who is the general manager at Flying Horse Resort and Club, and Jake Odell, director of golf. They've been giving us a little bit of background and some of the unique features of one of Colorado's finest and most exclusive clubs. And it is a beautiful site. Personal testimony, I am a member out there, and I'm just very proud of everything that they've accomplished out there. They are now on their 20th anniversary, and they've had a lot of learning along the way. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, last section here. I do want to give some of our listeners out there some insights into some of the great days that were out there and some of the days you were like, okay, what are we going to do now? Because in 20 years, you're going to see it all, right? You're going to see a lot of people come through. You're going to see a lot of turbulent times in the economy. You're going to see all kinds of things happen out there. So lots of big vision when Jeff Smith and Doug Stimple brought this to paper and finally we're able to start to see it come out and unroll in reality. That had to be some of the higher times for sure.
It was.
Kicking off. Do you remember some of those early days and some of the atmosphere? Do you recall?
Oh, yeah. I think the excitement around all of it was huge. I think about, the day that we launched the golf course, and we talked about that when Glenn played with Tom Weiskopf, and then the very next day, the members played the course for the first time. And then I remember the grand opening of the athletic club and, the excitement, and that was a black tie event. And then same thing with the clubhouse a year later. All very, very exciting stuff.
Now, and like I said off air, this isn't Bushwood Country Club. This isn't your grandpa's old country club. This was designed with the family in mind from the start. Is that an accurate assessment?
100%.
Okay. And it certainly has become that, because the summer months are filled with families, and it's really vivacious and alive out there, especially by the pool. Tennis courts are rolling, and just about everything's going on out there. How about you, Jake? When you recall some of the early days, what were some of the recollections of atmosphere and vibe? And did you feel like this was going to be a job for the long haul for you?
Not at the start. I just loved the opportunity of going to a golf course that just had a bunch of vision to it, and being one of those first to be hired and see it for the first time, play it for the first time, meet the very first members. And certainly when you met the ownership and you met Fredo and Wendy and Glenn, you just immediately felt like a part of the family.
Right on, man.
And that was, you just weren't another piece of the puzzle. You were an integral part.
Part of the family.
It really struck with me. And then to just see it, grow and be a part of those projects and actually give feedback and put input into what was going to become what it is today has been amazing.
Very good.
Even through the hard times, the recession and everything, to be a part of that kind of family was huge to watch. When everybody else was kind of retracting, we were still pushing forward. Mm-hmm. And it made a lasting impact. I think it's why we have a lot of the leadership that we still have today, is that we still stuck together.
A lot of folks have been there for a while.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate you mentioning the recession there, because, you can imagine as a developer going out there and you've expended all of this energy, time, and of course, financial resources. And then we hit the 2008 season. Yeah. That had to be some scary times.
It was very scary. We didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, we're owned by a home builder, and they were very affected. And like you said, they had a lot of investment in Flying Horse, and the housing market tanked.
Yeah.
I think when I think back to that, I think about the vision that our ownership had, and I am 100% sure there were a lot of very, very sleepless nights. When I think about the club, they made the decision to build the clubhouse earlier than they had committed to the members. Mm-hmm. And I think if they hadn't made that decision ahead of the recession, I'm not sure we would be telling the same story that we are about Flying Horse right now.
Right on.
Because the club was, for all in purposes, it was complete.
Yes.
And if we wouldn't have had that clubhouse, we would have had a partially built club and potentially, gone the way of a lot of other clubs during that time.
Right. Which was not pretty for a lot of folks that were doing this out there. But Colorado's northern El Paso County, it was a good time, because, another club, a new club hadn't really been open since probably back to when Garden of the Gods opened, is my guess. A new facility like this where it's golf, tennis, resort lifestyle, all that stuff. So this was a big deal. This was a big gamble. Can you remember some of the tenets of leadership that some of your leaders imparted on you as you were going through some of those darker days?
I remember vividly making the decisions as to, when we were making the financial decisions, how do we keep this thing on the rails? The leadership that came from our owners was, we don't cut anything that has an impact on our members.
Wow.
We try to manage the stuff behind the scenes. so that we aren't impacting our customers' experience. And I think that made all the difference in the world.
Yep. And you had a high retention rate among the membership.
We did.
It was actually quite phenomenal. And you never really saw that, just for whatever it's worth, from a member to you guys. You never really felt the strain that they probably did, which is a great testimony.
For sure.
Absolutely. All right. So then now we got into some boom years where things were starting to grow and housing markets started to open up, new election, new president, new economy. And you saw quite a few string of good years.
Oh, I think, all through what I would call those dark years of the recession, it was scary for a while. And all through it, we said, we are uniquely positioned that when this thing turns, it's going to go gangbusters. And, we were partially making that up, clearly. But,
well, you were hoping for sure.
We were hoping.
Yeah.
And boy, when things turned, Flying Horse exploded.
It really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ignited for sure. There was development everywhere on those properties, both on one side of Northgate and, of course, the main property itself. So that had to feel good. I mean, a little breath of fresh air, a little breath of relief.
It was great.
Okay, we're going to make it.
Yep.
And sure enough, that got you all the way through the next season, which in 2018, we had another bump in the road. And of course, COVID. That kind of threw everybody through a wrench. So we were all in that together. But you guys, once again, you did some very unique things for the membership out there and your guests to make them feel like, yep, we're still in business. COVID was one. I don't know how you even prepare for that. No, you don't.
You literally are making stuff up as you go. But what we really tried to do once we got through, I think about the first 60 days when everything was shut down, and we were trying to figure out as a leadership team, how do we navigate this? And what does the future look like? And we went back to, how do we take care of our members? Mm-hmm. How do we get things open safely, depending on, what people's perspectives were? Mm-hmm. How can we provide something for our members? Mm-hmm. We did this drive-through taco night.
I remember those. Mm-hmm. Those were great.
Yeah.
There's actually some great memories going through there, and I remember ordering dinner and going through the portico and picking up your dinner, and that was awesome. So, how about golf? I mean, could you play? I can't remember.
That was golf is one of the highlights out of COVID. Okay. Everybody started playing golf just to get outside, and as soon as, like Wendy alluded to, as soon as we thought it was safe enough for people to go out there, some of my best memories, we still had the golf shop closed, so I just basically sat in the back of my truck as the golf shop and just waved to people and said hi from a distance.
Right on.
When you were secluded for so long, it was just great to see familiar faces. And I think that goes a long way, especially when you have a club, is to see those familiar faces and have those interactions again, to feel normal in some sense. So those are some, out of a very dark time, some great memories for us. So.
Are you guys better managers for it? For having gone through there?
And we're definitely closer as a group for sure.
Yeah. You got that? Yeah, the ties that bind, right?
We kind of look at it that we can take on any challenge now.
Very good. Well, from your chair, Wendy, what's next for Flying Horse? The next 20 years.
Oh.
We're just barely getting through these 20.
Wow, that makes me tired just thinking about it. There's still next up at Flying Horse North. Mm-hmm. There will be more lots coming on. And this fall, there's a clubhouse that will be built up there. Beyond that, when I look back at the last 21 years, I feel like we've been in a state of flux the entire time. Mm-hmm. When I think about what's next beyond, the upcoming construction projects, I hope there's a time where we really can kind of just settle in for a minute and, fine tune maybe some
Absolutely. Yep. To be able to fine tune. What a concept, right?
Yes.
Rather than
constant change.
Everything's on.
Yeah.
I worked in the business for a minute down in South Florida, so I definitely respect where you are and where you've been. So how about for your golf courses? Do you ever anticipate some big events coming out there? I mean, obviously you have a lot of charitable golf tournaments out there and other big, locally big events. But when you talk about sectionals or anything like that, do you ever foresee that happening?
We actually, this fall, will be hosting the PGA Professional Section Championship up in North.
Very good.
So all the pros in Colorado will be coming down. Certainly want to host some big junior events. We've always been focused on that. Right when we started the club, we hosted a couple of state tournaments and a couple of American Junior Golf Association events. Mm-hmm. So we'll be looking to do stuff like that. But, you know, we're very busy, and we certainly respect the availability to members and our guests and whatnot. So, again, to Wendy's point, to just kind of fine tune and, you know, not get the carriage before the horse too quickly is kind of what we're looking forward to.
Understood. Well, congratulations to all of you out there on 20 years. You've navigated some very choppy waters and some very calm seasons, obviously, as well. But it is a magical experience out there. I really appreciate you giving us a little tour on the inside tracks of all that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you both very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, if you've been listening and you'd like to visit out there, go to flyinghorseresort.com. Absolutely stunningly beautiful campus out there. You can stay in one of the lodges out there. And what are those ones along that whole
The villas.
The villas. I've yet to stay in one of those. I can't wait to do that. So anyway, this has been Dirk Hobbs, Business Digest Weekly. We've been hanging out with Wendy McHenry. She's General Manager at Flying Horse. And, of course, Jake O'Dell, Director of Golf. Glad you've been with us, folks. We'll see you next week.
You've been tuned in to Business Digest Weekly with Dirk Hobbs. If you'd like to be considered for a spot on our show, email us at info@coloradomediagroup.com.